Russell, it's a pleasure to talk to you again today. My name is Niger Chambers of Big Go Belt Media. How you feeling?
I'm well, brother. Yourself?
Good, good. Very excited to talk to you now in the later part of this season. We had a fantastic talk before the season premiered. Obviously, by opportunity, being able to check out a few of the episodes early, but now really seeing Charles' arc this season has been nothing short than controversial for everybody. Everyone has something to say. But I'm going to start off with a very, soft question here, and by asking just how has the experience going into season 2 now for you, playing Charles, both, your performance and whatnot, which is always top tier, but working closely with folks like Christine Horn this season. Obviously, McCole is fantastic. You two always bring amazing chemistry on screen, but just seeing a new side of Charles this season, how has it all been for you?
It's been great. I mean, I think that, Charles has been able to get off the porch, if you will. You know what I mean? And also what happens is, I think when you see other sides of the character, I think that audiences get to see other aspects of my instrument, right? And so other things that I can play. There's times you see the angry father, but now you see the conflicted father. You know what I mean? Now you see the father as an infidel. How do those things sort of land on Charles? So these different levels of emotion, and I'm excited to play it. And I was happy to get the opportunity, and also, like you said, play opposite Christine Horn, who is a very fine actress and just a real talent. And I think that I had to give Randy in the casting a huge hand, because they got somebody who knew what she was doing, and you would really appreciate that. You know what I mean? And so it made the scenes easier to play and a lot more fun.
Yeah. And fun is a good word here, because all of social media, the TikToks, Instagram, they're having a great time with your character. Have you had a chance to see any of these viral videos, or what has been your thoughts or reactions to them?
You can't not miss it. It's everywhere. I got friends texting me this. I got friends, sending me on Instagram DMs and everything like that. I'm flattered by it, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And as 50 always says, positive or negative, lean into it.
He knows best.
So I mean, and the thing is, like anything else, this too shall pass. Yeah. And so, in 3 more weeks, they'll be worried about, Tariq and everybody. You know what I mean? So it's all good. I like the fact that people are having fun. I like the creativity and just like kind of the creativity of people's creating new scenes and doing all kind of stuff like that, and their memes. It's fun. You know what I mean? You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. The show is transcending besides just being the show. Everyone's getting involved one way or another, and that's always a positive thing.
Hit the zeitgeist, as they say.
Yeah. So Charles, as you said, the confliction with this character, obviously we know that season 1 had a lot to do with the dysfunction within the house, whether it's the financial issues, whether it's the dysfunctional father-son relationships. And then we go into season 2, and it appears that Terry and Charles are on the same page. Then Terry steps outside the lines a little bit here, creates more frustration. But then the other things within the house start to turn for the better. The financial situation is still there, but the chemistry amongst Charles and Lucille has seemed to be repaired, but Charles had to kind of go about it in a way that, obviously Lucille wouldn't approve. I want to kind of, if you could fill in the gaps here a little bit, what is Charles' mindset? And as a male, and I can say, like, there's things that I can pick up on, but I don't want to assume, because you see Charles with the utmost frustration, but then once Charles starts to have an outlet, shall we say, then we start to see a new uppity, pep in his step sort of Charles here. So I was wondering if you can just take me through the different mindsets that we kind of go through with Charles through this journey thus far.
Well, I mean, I think we have to just be honest with what we're looking at. We're looking at, a family in crisis. It's negative circumstance. Like with any, when the money gets funny, when the bread don't smell right, problems arise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see, and the truth is that I don't care how honest and open we are. When the money gets funny, it makes it hard to communicate. And when it becomes hard to communicate, intimacy is challenged, right? because the thing is, it's like if you're not providing for the lights, everything like that, Joe Johnson just may not get right. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I mean? Or your wife don't want to get soft and warm. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just reality. And I think that so then what happens is you have to you find a different outlet, as you said, where somebody isn't in your circumstance. And so that because they're not in your circumstance, they have a different energy.
Yeah.
And that energy, it enlivens you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that's just human nature. Yeah. And I think we just have to be, realistic as audiences that this is life.
Yeah.
And see, the thing is, I know people, it's tongue in cheek with a lot of people, but sometimes I don't think people are really realistic in their comments and the fact that it is life. It is real life.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the conversation about people cheating. Well, let's have the conversation about why.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what I mean? If women want to say, that old line cheating Charles, well, what is the woman's part in this? And what is the man's part in this?
Yeah.
What kind of expectations do we put on our spouses?
Yeah.
Both male and female, about what they should be doing for us, what they should be providing for the house, the family. Are women too demanding?
Yeah.
And are brothers too lazy, maybe? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Should you go get a second gig?
Yeah.
Should you go, all these things that are still permeating and affecting the family today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and my hope is that people look at it that this can bring about just an elevated conversation.
Yeah.
Because this is dealing with the family.
Yeah, and I also think too, why you mentioned that, I mean, when you talk about the mitigation of these issues, do you go to the church? Do you seek the second job? Does the internal communication amongst one another, if that's not working, then what happens? Do you take time apart to come back together? Like all these sorts of different things. I feel like the show definitely challenges and puts together to create conversation, as you said.
Indeed.
And that's why, I wanted to ask you, I was very excited to talk to you because of that, because we do see these sort of transgressions with Charles, frustrated, at times angry, at times sort of removed. And then we start to see a little bit of energy return and just a phenomenal performance as always by you, which takes me to a scene that I thought a lot of people really overlooked, but I thought it told the story without words. And I would love to kind of hear you kind of give your narration or detailed explanation to the scene. The scene where Charles is with Mabel out on the town at the strip club, unfamiliar territory for him, unfamiliar sort of just catering towards him as well too. I mean, she really took him out and said, hey, give my man the time of his life here. And I was sitting there like, listen, I'm sure a couple of us was like, I've been right there next to Charles. but with Charles do see Meech in the club, there's this look. And I love how this scene was shot, where it did kind of leave the viewers like, did Charles actually see Meech, or was that his consciousness? And then if he really did see him, which it did appear that he really seen him, how he just completely removed himself from the situation. Can you talk me through this scene when you read the scene, and ultimately just what Charles was thinking through this scene?
I think that it becomes that thing of Charles is more disappointed in himself than he is embarrassed or anything else. And that's the thing, you realize just that fast, you're not the man you claim to be. And the thing is, it's that thing, you have to see it all the way to the end. And, the saying goes, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the disappointment in himself, that he allowed this woman to put that apple out in front of him and he take a bite. You know what I mean? And that's just all. And see, that's for me, like you said, the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
If I take that internal monologue and just know, damn, I fucked up. You know what I mean? And it's really that simple. And that's all that needs to be said. And I think that for a lot of brothers, a lot of men, they've been in the situation where they realize they've disappointed themselves.
Absolutely.
And so whatever happens after that, I'm sure they're going to have a come to Jesus moment. But and also, you know, that it changes your son's perception of you.
Mm-hmm.
And see, the problem is what I think Charles will realize is that, which he didn't, that his son's perception had already changed years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But as a byproduct, not of a lack of respect, but out of I think just knowing that you couldn't provide. And so his son has already been disappointed in him because Meech doesn't care about integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Meech cares about money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you can't provide, keep these lights on, that's a problem. It doesn't matter where you get it from. Yeah. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, we get to it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into quick other questions real quick. This one's very short and sweet here. What does Mabel represent for Charles?
I think she just represents an opportunity to escape. I think she represents an opportunity to be seen, to be regarded. You know what I mean? And again, all those things that were dormant in Charles are coming out. His willingness to dance a little bit, you know what I mean? And just put on a different hat, a different face. And I think that's just what it is. I think that in all relationships, when they linger, you do lose that sense of joy. You know what I mean? You know, your stories get old and your jokes get stale.
Yeah.
You know? And so you get around a new audience, all of a sudden everything is brand new again, baby. And you funny, you current again. And I think that's what it is, you know?
Yeah. And also too, I mean, like I asked Christine sort of the reverse of this question, and I think Charles represents a lot of that for her. I mean, she's dealt with some past trauma and isolation, and really nowhere to go. And I think that Charles also kind of created an outlet for her to kind of get her pep in her step back, kind of get her groove back a little bit here. So yeah, it's interesting how that works. And yeah, you talk about honest conversations out here. A lot of people typing a lot of things they don't really believe.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And the scene that I really loved, again, a credit to your performance and also alongside of Demetrius, the coming into the music store, which I thought wasn't just the scene to exchange words here. I thought it was really metaphorical because this was a father and son who Charles had never been in this store as far as the show. And so seeing Charles comes in, and then they're kind of going back down this nostalgic path, talking about how music brought them together. And I thought it was a sense of vulnerability for the two of them, and to see them connect in a way, a very honest way that we had not seen. Could you also talk me through what Charles was sort of feeling and thinking through this scene, and obviously, you know, your work on this scene, and how you really I really felt like you shined in this one.
Well, first of all, thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that it's an aspect of it's heightened reality. And what I try to do when I bring these characters, and especially when we're dealing with Black men and fathers and things of that nature, I want to heighten it. I don't think that in real life that Charles or a man of that ilk would be that vulnerable, would be that visibly vulnerable. But what I'm intentionally trying to do is show audiences, both Black and otherwise, that Black men, we feel.
Yeah.
That Black men, we have tenderness in us. We have the capabilities to love. We just haven't necessarily been given the space nor the opportunity for that to be seen, felt, and heard. Right. And so I'm representing all the brothers out here who family or wives or spouses or whomever think that we are not malleable, that we're not vulnerable. And I'm adding that layer to Charles purposely.
Yeah.
Because I want people to see that we do cut and bleed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's that, I always keep this in mind. There's that line of the Tin Man that says in The Wiz, what would I do if I could suddenly feel?
Yeah.
If I could reach inside of me and say, I like what I see, right? Then he says, I'd be more than glad to share all that I have inside me here. And if a tear should come to my eyes, think of all the wounds I could mend. Just to think the time I could spend being vulnerable again. I think that's important, and that's why I do that. And I appreciate you acknowledging that and asking that question and bringing that up, because it is intentional.
Yeah, with leaders like you, and there's other actors too I can credit here that is really driving this narrative going forward. I think society is going to be okay, because this is the message that still somehow, some way gets overlooked, and has a vast amount of importance,
yes,
within our community. And we're going to be okay as long as folks like you are using their platforms to do so.
Thank
you.
Listen,
Russell, I have to let you go, but I know my fans are going to be like, why didn't you ask this? I have to just quickly get your reaction to the viral scene of Charles entering the room twice amongst the dysfunction in the house when Terry and Meech had to leave for Atlanta. And there's a scene of you sort of entering the room from two different directions here. What was your thoughts when you seen that?
I was just like, I couldn't help but just throw up my hands and laugh, man. I couldn't help but throw up my hands and laugh.
I literally said, "Oh, somebody made this up," and I went back and looked. I said, "Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious."
I mean, things happen.
It does. But nonetheless, the show is still phenomenal. People make mistakes. You're still always going to be fantastic. And as always, it is a pleasure to talk to you. And, again, thank you just not only for your work with the show, but for what you do with your platform and just all through your walks of life. Again, I think this message is so important. And I think there's other actors as well, other Black male actors also toting this message. And I think with you all leading the tribe here, I think we're going to be okay. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Until the next time.
Indeed. Peace.
Thank you.